concrete space around here is valuable. So we're waiting for Mr. Doug to come down. We can't go no further. And we're going to get this thing off the concrete and put it away for a little while. Mr. Doug, he's a man with a passion to get his cars done. Unfortunately, in this world today, for the guys that don't have the money, it's difficult to get them done. But I agreed to help Mr. Doug. He wanted to save this. The rust was coming out in it, and the paint was peeling, and he wanted to know just what it was going to take to get this done. Now, I've had a lot of controversy about grinding on that roof. Yeah, you can call it old school, an electric grinder, but an air grinder spins up too fast, and the electric grinder, you can keep it down on a low speed. Yes, they have adjustable air grinders, but I have an electric grinder that I can set on low speed with a large pad and slowly take the layers off this roof. I've had to do this on several cars in my recent past. It seems like people just keep putting paint on top of paint on top of paint, which is never going to last. It's always going to soak in and fade and turn to crap, as happened with Doug's. His roof was completely peeling off in chunks. So Mr. Doug, again, I met Mr. Doug. He bought this 71 Camaro behind me for his son, and after seeing my shop, he decided to send it down to me. So we got it all peeled apart, and we had to give him a lot of bad news. Somebody has trimmed out the rear wheel wells to put in larger tires, but when they did it, they cut past the spot welds. So all the way around the wheel well is not attached. It's just a flapping panel. So that's an issue. That's got to be sealed up. That's just sending water straight up into the quarter panel anytime it's ridden in the rain. I don't think he drives this car a whole lot, but still, it's not something I'm going to leave that way. When something's sent to me after the years and years of restoration shops, I'm going to tell him how it is, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm going to lay it out there so he can make his own decisions on it. At this point, with all the mud we found in the quarter panels, I'm suggesting quarter panels. That's another reason why I didn't have a water blaster. The water blaster wanted $1,200 to come over here with his setup and water blast this car. Problem is with that, and it's worth $1,200 if it's done right. Problem is with that, we found a lot of nitro stain, we found a lot of Bondo, and it's going to take so much. You know, when you get a quote to do something, it's just a quote. When they get here to pull it all down, it's going to take a little more, especially with all this Bondo. You might peel off the top layer of paint, but you're not bringing it all the way down the metal. So that's why I went at the roof is not going to be replaced. The roof is beautiful, just too many layers of paint and peeling. The quarter panels are going to be replaced. The lower fenders are going to be replaced. Thank God the driver's fender. At some point, this car might have been hit. I can't see any other damage other than the hood has been changed and the fender has been changed. It doesn't have that many layers of paint. Probably a junkyard fender somebody put on it. But the fenders do have Bondo in them. The lower door needs patches, and because of the holes that we found in the hood and the trunk lid, I'm suggesting they get replaced. Yep, I patched them in with a product called PC7 just to slow it down, just to fill it in for now because I ground it down to metal. PC7 is a great product. It's like Bondo, but it's made for steel and it'll last 10 times, sometimes 20 times as long as Bondo if you seal them up from the back with Pour 15. It's going to be Doug's decision on whether we shoot this thing down with Pour 15 and try to get the hood and the trunk lid to last longer, or whether we're going to just replace them. Chevy parts aren't like Mopar parts. You can get Chevy parts real cheap. So this hood's like $200. So we'll see where Mr. Doug's budget's going to go and what we're going to get done to this car. We're definitely going to get it all peeled down, metal replaced, and all of it in paint and hopefully primer. But him wanting it gloss black, You know that story with gloss black. A lot of boarding, a lot of sanding. Getting a really true, beautiful gloss black car is not that easy. I've done a few of them. They've come out rather well, but that black just shows it all. So we'll see where Mr. Doug's going with this. One of the reasons we decided to take our time and go with an electric grinder is you can go at a slower speed and you get a much wider disc pattern. And doing that, you get to see everything you have in the car. How many layers of Bondo, how deep the Bondo is, how many layers of paint. This car, somebody has tried to cover up bad paint by putting Bondo on it. They've used a lot of nitrostain. We came down to a lot of green nitrostain, which was great in the 70s and the 80s, but now that we have finished mud, we don't need that nitrostain, and that nitrostain is known for shrinking and melting the paint around it. So when you use that stuff to cover up flaws in paint because there's too many paint jobs and you want to level it out quickly for a black paint job, it creates a mess. I've never been a big fan of single component nitrostain, but there's a lot of things you get to do when you go at it slowly and can get a good look at what you're grinding at. Water blasting is great dustless blasting is great, and I will probably have these two fenders dustless blast, but there's no reason to do this whole car when the quarter panels are going to be replaced, possibly the hood and the trunk lid replaced. So we're going to end up taking this whole front end apart and doing it right, and you'll get to see it as we do it. As we take the fenders over to the dustless blaster, see what he does with them with all these layers of paint. I've seen dustless blasting done. I've had a few panels done, but I can tell you what, with this many layers of paint, it's going to be interesting. I almost believe, because the last two layers, this was originally a blue car, and there's another layer of blue with 3 coats of primer, three coats of filler primer in between the 2 colors of blue. And I truly believe that there's some lacquer on it because of the way it was melting under the grinder. I don't go at them heavy with a grinder. I go at it very lightly at a low speed, and I watch what I'm taking down. You can never stay in one spot very long or you tear the metal up. And that's what I've done with this. But in some spots in the rear, it just gummed up, and that's what happens when you lay lacquer primer and the old 90s high build primer. It stays to some degree almost, I'm not going to say wet, but it just never seems to harden completely. And that's what it looks like going on here in some of the parts of this car. So he's got a great start to it. I mean, the interior the interior of this car is original. And there's a story with this car. One of the reasons why Mr. Doug wants to see it done. This car was he lives in the state of New York, and he had followed this car. This car was around his town. He had seen this car over and over and over again and wanted to get his hands on it. Wasn't ever able to get a chance to get his hands on it, as the people said they were going to fix it. Well, one day, lo and behold, it disappeared. So, you know, as we all do, shit, it's gone. We missed it. Oh well. So Mr. Doug just chalked it up. But Mr. Doug, in his searches, and wanted to find one like this, come across one in North Carolina. Lo and behold, it was the one from his neighborhood. It was like Mr. Doug was meant to own this car. Now, when it went to North Carolina, somebody put the 71 motor in it, had it all hopped up. So Mr. Doug got it back to his hometown in New York, and he's been hoping to finish it all along. And so now we're going to see if Mr. Doug can go through and get this thing finished up, and if we get the chance to dig into it and fix it the way it should be fixed. So stay tuned. There's going to be a lot more to come on this Camaro, on this Monte Carlo, and a lot more to come on that 71 Camaro. But there's where we are with it. So stay tuned. Like, subscribe, and share. And hope you like what you're doing. Hope you like. and I hope you like what we're doing. We're simply sharing what the builds we have left before I close out this garage and move on to greener pastures. So stay tuned, guys. Thanks for tuning in.